All right, so I finally got the EGR extension tube finished and completed. I got the fitting welded into the exhaust manifold. So we've got this, let's see, 90-degree fitting here that welds into the old M22 exhaust port that used to connect to this tube here. This is the original EGR tube that now I cut this end off, so that this is the original end here. So this used to be like this. Cut this off, welded on a fitting onto the old end, and then had this new tube made. And so this is stainless steel, like accordion-like, with a braid over top of it. So that should protect it from the heat. Tightened it up, fits perfectly. So, you know, a little bit more professional of a look than some of the stuff that I saw. And, you know, there was a company at one time that made an extension tube. If you Google it, just Ford EGR extension tube, you'll see it pop up, but they're out of stock. They didn't have it available. So, and really all that is this, or what it looks like from the picture, is this with M22 fittings on either end and no braid over top of it. So it's like this like sectioned hose that's bendable. There's a little bit of bend to that. And so, you know, once I got my points figured out, I just measured it, and that's how it came. And you know, you got the 90-degree over here and a straight fitting over here. So nothing crazy. It's just that this is the way to connect the EGR valve, you know, to still have it work. And it still connects here to the rubber hoses that connected to, I'm guessing, which is a control box here. So that's the solution. Now it's finished. Now I can put the engine, I'm gonna take the engine off the stand, put it on this stand that I made. That's the cradle, that's what it's gonna sit in. Then I'm gonna put the clutch on, flywheel, and then I'm gonna bolt the transmission to it. So that's the next step that I'm going for now. And then I'll be able to install it in the chassis. So yeah, that's where we're at now. So there you go, there's the update. The new pilot bearing. So you see engine is now on the stand to sit on the ground, so I can put the transmission and bolt it onto the back. But of course, first, new pilot bearing. You do need a tool to pull the old one out. AutoZone has the tool, and it'll pull. This is the outer race that you pull it out with the tool. You kind of have to get. You'll see there's these little indentations cut out of the race for the fingers of the tool to fit into. The tool I used was from AutoZone. I don't have one of those tools, and so it kind of had to get it. For some reason, the gap that it had between, you know, here and then the whatever is I guess the crankshaft in there, the profile of the tool, it just barely grabbed it. So I really had to tighten it down to make sure that it got a good grip on it. But as long as you do that, it should. And then you got to get the slide hammer also. So if you're renting the tool, you don't have a slide hammer, you have to get the puller and the slide hammer. So don't forget to do that. All right, so we got the flywheel installed, we got the bolts installed, those there. So the manual says, if you take the old one off, you want to mark it. And so it goes back on the same way. But this is a brand new flywheel. So you'll notice when you go to put it on that the bolt holes only line up really one way. So, you know, you can really only put it on one way. And then I used, as you go to torque it, you're gonna notice that it's gonna spin. So I used a punch, I just put the punch through there and then it pushed against the block so that it held it 59 foot-pounds on those bolts, which is what it says in the manual. So that's how I did that. Next step will be pressure plate, clutch, and then we'll see if we can get that transmission bolted up. All right, so we got the clutch, the flywheel, clutch disc, and pressure plate installed. All the bolts are torqued. The new dowel pins are installed, so there's new dowel pins there. All the bolts are new. The alignment tool's in. Pretty much all that's left now is I've got a new clutch fork, and I've got a new pilot or throwout bearing that came with the clutch kit that's going to go on the transmission and then get installed. And I'm also going to get a new clutch cable because I did not have. I installed the plastic one, but I'm gonna get an aluminum one. I'm not gonna mess around. I want a new cable, so I'll get all that new stuff. Other than that, the next step will be to install the clutch fork, bolt the transmission to the engine. That's the next step. I'm gonna clean up the input shaft a little bit. And that's gonna be the next step. So, and then after that, engine and transmission goes in. So that's it. So, yeah, like I said, next part of the video will be the installation of the transmission to the engine. Okay, so last final step before I bolt the transmission to the engine is I have installed the clutch fork and throwout bearing. So that's on there now. Here you can see it pivot freely. I put a new stud. They recommended, even though I did this before I read the recommendation, I bought a new stud, pivot stud. And they don't want you to apply a lot of grease to everything because they don't want it to get on the clutch. And reading the I bought the Ford Performance clutch, and in reading about it in their instructions, I guess they had a lot of Ford Performance clutches returned for being defective. And after they did some research, they found that it was really due to improper installation. And I think a lot of that was people were putting a lot of grease and they weren't centering the disc and using new dowels. So they recommend new hardware, new dowels, you know, all that. And then a little like thin layer of grease because you don't want the grease to sling up onto the clutch disc and flywheel, causing it to slip and feel like it doesn't work. They also recommend, you know, all new stuff because for proper clutch feel, and this includes a new clutch cable, which I'm going to do as well. For proper clutch feel, all that has to be new. You know, for it all to work correctly and it all to feel new and to feel like it should, all that stuff has to be new. So this is the last step before I'm gonna bolt now the engine to the transmission. That'll probably be next video, and then included with installing it in the chassis. So that's it for now. stay tuned for the next one.